This video is brought to you by BossRootin.com and PowerPerformanceProducts.com, where you can receive $10 off your purchase of Body Storm and Body Effects.
We trained together about a year ago, and he's a different fighter in so many respects. But when I watch him fight, there's still some things that I still see that he still does. So I think that there's a few gaps in there that I'll be able to exploit.
When you look at Jon, and you know he's talking about being sponsored by Nike and all this, and you're a guy that's been around for a long time, and not that you don't have sponsors, they're good. I mean, but that's an iconic brand in the United States. Yeah. What does that say to you that he's gotten that or in that space already, and you're still kind of sitting here waiting to get that?
I've always said I can never. It's really hard for me to be. Wanting what others have in that respect. I want to be champion, stuff like that, but what's for Jon is for Jon. And when something's for me, it'll be for me. I can't want what he has because that doesn't bring it any faster for me. I think it's great for the sport in general that we're getting that recognition, because ultimately what it comes down to is the growth of the sport. I'm just somebody in the sport, and I love doing the sport, but it's the growth in the sport. So if he's getting a good Nike's deals, then that's good for him.
My last question would be, what is the impact of height and really specifically reach in this fight? He has such a huge reach, and I know you have that overhand right that you like to throw. How do you land that against a guy with such a long reach and so tall?
Timing is everything. Timing is everything, and sometimes with somebody with a long reach, they can take away their reach themselves. Jon is a long fighter who really doesn't fight long, so we'll see how much does he help me out.
Rashad, you've had a lot to say about Greg. We know everything here, but what about the positive times? What can you tell us about the history of the good times with Greg and Wing?
Man, and I used to love Greg. I used to call him Craig Blackson. Craig, and I call him Craig because every single time he'll go somewhere, somebody will always kind of mess up his name a little bit. It's like, hey, you're Craig? And he's like, no, it's Greg. So that's before he was like really, really popular. And I call him Blackson because when I first went and started training with Greg, I told one of my cousins that I'm training with Greg, and I'm like, yeah, I'm glad you got yourself with a brother, because his last name was Jackson, so they automatically assumed that he was black. So I started calling him Craig Blackson. But we had a good relationship. We had a good friendship more than anything. And it's just too bad that things had to happen the way they did. And Wink with Jon, we've always had a good relationship. We always had just that great culture, great coaching and student training. Really good.
What did it mean to you to have Keith Jardine in your corner? I know he didn't train with Jon, he didn't spar with Jon, he stepped out of that. I know he came down and helped you out for a few days. I mean, as a teammate, Keith being a friend, what did that mean to you?
Man, Keith is my brother, man. I love Keith to death. He definitely has my heart, and he's definitely a part of me no matter what, because we came up together. And no matter how much success I may have or anything, or wherever the road may take me and take him, we always have that bond. We never forget that. So it meant a lot to me when he came and he came to help me out.
Last question: does it mean a lot? Jon Dodson, I talked to him. He said, I don't care whether you ever train at Jackson's or not, you are still part of Team Jackson. Does that mean something that the teammates, they don't want to get in the middle of this, but they're still standing by you?
Nah, it means something. It definitely means something, because we all came up together. Little Jon Dodson, when he was the most talented fighter in the room, but really couldn't get any fights because he was just too small, and he trained for many months just to have a fight, cancel on him, and he's one of those fighters who really became my inspiration in many ways, because when you see a fighter like that who continuously in the training room getting better without knowing if he's ever going to get a chance to fight, or knowing if he ever gets a chance to fight on the stage, that some of the people that he trains with going to do, it's a very humbling experience. So to see him doing that, and it just became a bit of my motivation too.
You've been taking down Jones before in training. Does it give you an extra confidence or an extra thing in his mind about fighting you? How difficult it's going to be?
Well, I mean, for the most part, he can say what he wants to say, but it's going to be different for him because he knows that I can take him down. You see what I'm saying? See, before, he can never even imagine somebody taking him down because they didn't. But he knows I can because I have.
So there's doubt on his mind?
There's not doubt. It's just it's a fact. I can take him down. He understands it. So he's going to fight with the idea that, okay, I got to be careful because this guy can take me down because he has before.
You've been where he is now, at the top of and you've also been a challenger. But he has never been a challenger to a champion.
Yeah.
What is going through his mind, and how do you exploit that to bring home the belt?
You know, it's really hard to say what was going on in his mind because he wears such he wears a pretty good mask, you know. But I can imagine that the pressure gets to him. I can imagine, you know, the thing about Jon is this right here. I listen to what he say, and then I know he always thinks the opposite of what he actually says. So he says what sounds good, but he's actually feeling the opposite. So the simple fact that he's saying it's not personal, the simple fact that he's saying it's this and it's that, is really telling me that it's probably the opposite of what he's really feeling.
Question back here, and I may be following some conspiracy theory. Why was it that we didn't see a bunch of your Forrest Griffin highlights? I mean, I looked at everything, and I didn't see at all one time of you basically crushing his head to the canvas and won the title.
Yeah, you know, I don't know. That's a good question. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing about, like, I don't really think about that kind of stuff too much. I just go in there and just do what I need to do, because I know what it's like. I know how people they always got some kind of doubt or don't believe I can do this or don't believe I can do that. So I understand that, and I understand that I don't really get the props that I deserve or anything like that. So I understand all that, and I don't really take it personal. I don't really think too much about all the conspiracies that could be out there.
One follow-up. 4 years ago when you were here, you were definitely not going to cheer. This time I would say it's probably going to be 70-30 cheer versus Jones. Does that affect you or make it even better for you?
I don't know. You know, I'm definitely going to feel the energy. Every single time I step out, you know, walk out to do the fight, I always feel the energy, and that's something that drives me, and it's something that's fun. So it's going to be crazy to hear the crowd actually cheering for me if they do. But and that's a weird thing if they cheer for me. I don't really feel.
They'll cheer for the winner.
Yeah. They're going to cheer for somebody who land the best blow.
Rashad,
I think it definitely has a big base in Puerto Rico, just based upon, like, you know, when you get in the major media to follow it and stuff like that, that's when you know that you have a good place to bring an event, because, you know, the media is really going to tell the people where they should really go. You know, people, they're guided by the media, so if the media's there and they're really excited about it, then people will come out and watch the show.
what do you think has taken so long for UFC to be established in a boxing island like Puerto Rico?
You know, I think what it is that UFC have so many things that they have to do, and they've been trying to spread out as much as they can and do things accordingly to what they feel is most important. And I think that, you know, Puerto Rico is definitely a location that they're looking into setting up, because that's the only reason why they'll have me go down there when they did.
How important would it be for the industry, for UFC, to be spread out to the Caribbean, Puerto Rico, and other places?
It would be very important, because, you know, one thing about it, you know, fighting is one of those things that's worldwide, and it's something that appeals to everybody. So I think that the more we expand and we go out there to show people our great sport, the bigger following we can get, and show people that we do have one of the best sports in the world.
Jon mentioned that he was a complete MMA fighter. What have you done to improve some of the areas that you felt maybe you needed to work on since your last fight?
You know, I do the same thing. I do extensive training in all the areas I feel like I'm weak at. You know, I do a lot of jiu-jitsu. I do a lot of stand-up striking. I do a lot of areas and work in areas that I feel like I need to become a complete martial artist, because, like Jon is saying, this is about, you know, being a fluid martial artist, being able to go through each discipline, you know, seamlessly and without any indication when you're about to make a transition.
Is there going to be any surprises that we might see this fight?
You know, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm going to do. Honestly, I don't even know what I'm going to do. I just been thinking, like, I'm going to go out there and just fight, man. Just let it just hang out and just be raw and just let it come to me. You know, I really right now can't sit here and say my mindset is made up on doing one thing, because I know Jon is one of those athletes who's going to come out there and he's going to try to make me think. And that's what Jon does really well. He makes his fighters think. And when you do make a fighter think, that's when you're able to attack. So he gets the guys thinking and get them puzzled, and then he's able to do his game plan and get them doing whatever he wants to go out there and knock it.
Can you talk about your training partners, the Tyrone, and have you had Daniel Guida as well, high-level K1 guys helping you?
Yeah, I had some really good high-level K1 guys coming in, and it's one of the most humbling things in the world, because you realize, like, I'm such at a level when it comes to wrestling and grappling and stuff like that, but when you go with guys that are just at that level and stand up, man, it's kind of the most humbling experience in the world. But it's one that once you feel and once you experience, you know that there's not many fighters that can match that. You know that if you can stand up to what they're doing, then nobody else, really has a chance.
So you think that they are a higher level than anything Jon will show you?
Yeah, I mean, just their technique and everything, and the speed, and their mindset to when it comes to the stand-up battle is just it's light years away where Jon is. Could Jon get there? Yeah, he probably can, but I mean, their style is just ridiculous.
Hey there, we're the King of the Cage Ring Girls. Thanks for watching MMAinterviews.tv.
Godspeed and party on.